Chapter 8. Fanny Bush, the local sex symbol. After a good long nap, and on the now cooler evening grass, there seemed to be no ill effects from the special sweets incident, which was a very good thing indeed. The boys had revitalized some of their energy, and Harry was the first to feel it. "Come on, chaps, let's have a game of footy." And he leapt up, and instantly he felt refreshed as the soft, early evening breeze soothed him. He kicked the ball from under Simon's head. "Dude!" he wailed. Dippy awoke with a start and blurted out,
No more plum pudding for me, thanks."
and he sat up, looked around, and realised where he was. "I think you're a plum short of a pudding," laughed Simon, and Dippy looked suitably embarrassed. But hey, he was still there, and that was a world record. So he fixed his cheesy grin back on his face and carried on winning friends. Jensen exhaled and sat up lazily. "I suppose we'd better discuss this new business first, though."
Do we have to do that now, dudes? I really can't be bothered at the moment.
"Pop another sweetie, Simon. That'll give you a good kick up the arse," said Harry.
Not right now. Maybe later, man. I don't want to go through that again. Well, not anytime soon. I'll put the feelers out for a suitable venue, and we'll do that tomorrow."
"Good idea," said Harry, spinning the ball on his finger. "Football now, business later."
"Bugs be golly, then,"
said Jensen, opting for the least energetic. And after a few minutes of arguing over who was going to do what, the game reluctantly began. Jensen kicked the ball high into the air. Simon skipped forward and trapped it neatly under his right foot, then dribbled it forward, commentating as he did.
"Sneed on the ball now. Spider comes in to challenge, but Sneed skips past him as though he wasn't even there. What skill, what presence, what magnificence! He's only Dippy to beat now. He toys with him, moving this way, then that, and then he breezes past him. All he has to do is swerve it round the goalie. Here we go!"
Simon looked up, expecting Jensen to be poised like a cat, ready to make the save. But he wasn't. He was just stood, open-mouthed, apparently hypnotised, and looking completely the wrong way. Clomp, clomp, clomp went the high-heel shoes as they met the path that ran adjacent to the school playing fields. The sound echoed around Jensen's head with more harmony than a 100-piece orchestra. The vision then met Simon's eyes, just as he was about to shoot for goal. He swung his leg hard, but missed the ball completely and kicked Dippy instead, who fell to the ground, clutching a painful shin. Harry then pounced on the ball and decided that now was as good a time as ever to show off. He flicked it from foot to foot and pirouetted gracefully with fine athletic ease. He looked up to see if the girl was watching. Lo and behold, she was. He trotted around like a young stallion, smiling confidently, then turned to give her his best-looking angle. But unfortunately in doing so, he tripped on his own shoelace and disappeared head first into the bushes. In a flash, he was face down in the undergrowth, and so he waited for the ground to swallow him up. But it didn't.
"Are you all right in there?"
asked a soft, feminine voice. That didn't really sound like Marilyn Monroe, unless you happen to be a nearly 14-year-old boy, that is. Harry feigned invisibility.
"Yoo-hoo, young man."
It was obvious that the girl wasn't going to go away, so he spat the dusty bracken from his mouth and answered hesitantly.
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks."
He picked himself up, brushed himself down, and stumbled into the open.
"I was just looking for me ball,"
he lied.
"Of course you were,"
she said knowingly as she studied his unusual green-flecked eyes with spiderific eyelashes and the even more strange twig of bracken that rose vertically from his hair. But despite that, she liked what she saw, and she knew that because of his awkwardness, their feeling was mutual. Harry looked at the girl. She was pretty, even more so when she smiled. Her long, straight brown hair fell lightly onto a tight white t-shirt that was tucked neatly into a short black skirt, which emphasized her overdeveloped figure for her age, and it was all too much for him. So it came to pass. Stirred by instinct, the involuntary hormonal reaction in the supposed predator was underway. An ordeal shared by all members of the human race. It's the only reason any of us are on this planet, to continue or to contribute to the survival of the species. And just as a wolf would howl blindly into the night, he opened the floodgates to the next stage in his young life, and he spoke.
Nice day, isn't it?"
Simon and Jensen were watching and listening, ready to make their own bid for this strange new world, should Harry fall at the first fence, or even if he didn't. Simon studied the girl meticulously.
"Who is she, man?"
"Oh, that's Fanny Bush. She goes to our school."
"Fanny Bush? Are you shitting me, Jensen?"
"No, I'm not shitting you, Simon. She really does go to our school."
"Not the school, you doofus. I mean her name. Is it really Fanny Bush?"
"Yeah, why? What's wrong with that?"
"That's just a little unusual, that's all."
"Why is it unusual? It's a good old traditional Yorkshire name. Apparently, she comes from a long line of Fannys."
"Oh, well, each to their own, I suppose. But Jesus, man, she's as fit as a butcher's dog. We don't have girls like that at our school."
"That might be because you go to an all-boys school, Simon."
"Yeah, that's probably it. And anyways, Jensen, how comes you've never mentioned her before?"
"I must have forgot. And yeah, I suppose she is all right, but most of her brains are in her bra," sniggered Jensen.
"And hasn't Harry noticed that, dude?"
"You can say that again, Simon, lad. She won't hurt herself if she fell over, would she?"
"She'll never drown in those floats, man,"
sniggered Simon, like a naughty schoolboy. Yes, the banter was more than a little sexist, but it was the 70s, and that's how everybody spoke, especially the adults. Also, Fanny Bush wasn't her actual name. It was Jennifer Bush, but Jensen called her Fanny because it got a laugh, and when you're young, that's much more important than offending anybody. Jennifer Bush gestured towards Dippy, who lay on the sun-baked hard ground, rubbing his sore leg.
"Is your friend all right?"
she asked.
"Yeah,"
replied Harry, just pleased that she'd broken the awkward silence.
"Just bruised pride, I think."
Jennifer thought for a second, and then released an unearthly sound. Or something similar. A flock of pigeons took fright and rose into the air. The cat that was stalking them screeched and jumped into the bushes. Mrs. Jenkins, the cat's owner, who was trying to get little Tiddles to come back home, also jumped into the bushes. On hearing Jennifer's laugh, Simon too was taken aback.
"Jesus Christ, man. She's all right until she opens her mouth. She sounds like a goddamn ceiling labour.
Harry was also surprised, and the conversation dried again. And then, as with all such occasions, they spoke together.
Whoops, you first. No, you. No, you, please. No, you go first. No, I insist. No, really, I insist. For God's sake, will one of you just bloody speak? Shouted Jensen.
Harry and Jennifer turned and looked at him.
Sorry,
he muttered, waving apologetically. Harry took a deep breath and collected himself again. He'd heard that Jennifer liked him, but Jensen had told him of her dubious reputation and had advised him to stay well away from her. He'd always wondered, though, if that was just a smokescreen for Jensen's own intentions. So he thought, what the hell, it's worth a try. Nothing ventured, nothing gained and all that. And he went for it.
Are you busy tonight, Jennifer?
I bet she's talking about me, whispered Jensen, who was still watching closely.
Well, it looks to me like she's after Harry, dude.
Don't believe everything you see and hear, me old son.
Oh, I don't. Especially when it comes from you, man.
And just what do you mean by that?
You know exactly what I mean, Jensen. You tend to think that all the girls fancy you, and you badmouth your friends to get the girl.
Obviously a series of misunderstandings, Simon.
Yeah, sure it is, dude.
Are you calling me a liar?
Well, if the cap fits, wear it, as they say.
But as it turned out, Jennifer was indeed talking about Jensen.
I saw your friend the other day, and he told me that you weren't interested in me and that I was to go out with him. No, that can't be right. We're like the Three Musketeers, we are. You know, all for one and one for all, and all that. Well, you better go tell that to your friends, 'cause I don't think that they read the script.
Harry turned around and saw Simon and Jensen scuffling on the floor. "Call me a liar, would you?" screamed Jensen as he throttled Simon.
"Oh, liar!"
replied Simon in a half-strangled, muffled tone. Harry looked back at Jennifer and smiled falsely.
"Oh, well, they're not usually like this, honestly."
And he quickly changed the subject.
"So, would it be okay if I sort of, you know, kind of, Yes, it would," interrupted Jennifer.
"Oh, that's great. In fact, bloody marvellous. Bloody brilliant.
Quite good. You know, reasonably adequate. Anyway, I'll see you there then."
He smiled, but not too broadly, so as not to appear as eager as he was, and he swaggered off like a matinee idol.
Bloody hell, there's nothing to this relationship stuff, he thought. That was too easy. Why was I even worried?
And he turned and waved, but oddly, Jennifer was still stood there.
"Well, isn't there anything else that you want to say to me?"
she asked. Harry cocked his head and gave her his best smile and strolled back to her, the big stud that he was.
"Oh, yeah, thanks, Jennifer. You won't regret it." "No, you silly fool. Where and when do I meet you?"
Harry blushed uncontrollably.
"Oh, yeah, of course. Where and when? You decide." "Okay, Romeo. The old church at 8 tonight." "Right, yeah, you're on. It's a deal. I'll be there. Maybe." "Well, if you don't want to." Oh, I do. Yeah, really I do. Yeah, I absolutely do." "Okay then, lover boy. I'll see you then." "Yeah, right. I'll see you then.
And he strutted back to the boys. Jensen climbed off Simon and greeted Harry excitedly. "Well, what did she say then? Does she fancy me, or what?" Harry was too hot and bothered to answer the question, so he leant against a tree to find shade and waited a good few seconds for his adrenaline to ease off. It had been a traumatic experience.
"I don't know, Jen. I think you might have been misinformed. It seems what you told me last week was completely wrong. I think she fancies me, not you."
Simon shook his head and pulled himself up off the ground.
"Yeah, you must have been wrong, Jensen."
But Jensen was undeterred. "You're meeting her at the old church, aren't you, Harry?"
"Yeah, you're right. How did you know that?"
Jensen grinned mirthlessly. "Oh, that's where Jennifer takes all her. Ooh." Simon nudged him in the ribs, but Jensen continued. "So what time are we meeting her then?"
"You're not. I am."
"Come on, Harry, let us watch."
"You're a goddamn perv, you are, Jen. Do you know that?"
Harry, you know I'd do the same for you."
"Look, I'm not arguing with you, Jen. I've got to go have my tea and get ready. If you must watch, keep out of sight."
"That's my boy," smiled Jensen.
"God damn it. I'd better go and get ready for my bloody piano lessons, man,"
blurted Simon. And so they gathered up their belongings and started to walk home, with one exception. Dippy was shuffling around in a circle, trying to look like he was going somewhere, but going nowhere in particular. Harry noticed and strolled back to him.
"Aren't you going for your tea now, Dippy lad?"
Dippy hesitated before answering.
No. I don't think it'll be ready yet."
But due to his infant isolation, Dippy lacked many social skills, and lying convincingly was one of them. But even though he knew he was lying, Harry left it at that. He had more pressing business to attend to.
"OK then, Dippy lad. We'll see you later then." Yeah. I'll see you later, lads. Definitely."
Life was really looking up for Johnny Dipp. For the first time ever, he nearly had some non-pretend friends, and that was truly marvellous. Simon ran into the distance with his American-style baseball boots, carrying him home in time for piano lessons. Jensen strolled leisurely behind Harry. "You do know, Harry, Dippy's tea won't be ready tonight at all. I know for a fact his mother's buggered off and locked him out again. I saw her go to the pub earlier, so that'll be her for the night, I'm sure."
"Yeah, I thought the same, Jen. But don't worry though, I'll bring him some sandwiches later. That should sort him out until his mother decides to come back."
Jensen looked at Harry strangely. "What do you mean you'll fetch him some sandwiches later?"
"Well, you know."
Harry couldn't quite explain it either, but Jensen could. "A bit of a charity case, is he?" Harry looked over his shoulder and saw Dippy sitting back down and staring at the floor, with a strange fixed grin.
Yeah, I suppose he is." "God bless you, Harold Spider. You'll make a wonderful saint one day. Your mother will be proud,"
mimicked Jensen. Harry was a bit embarrassed, so he gave another reason.
"Don't forget, Jen, we need Dippy for the business, so we all have to look out for him."
Yeah, I suppose you're right, Harry," nodded Jensen, as this made much more sense to him. Harry just smiled. It was a good feeling being nice. Maybe he should try it again sometime. Or maybe not. Because, as they climbed over the school wall and headed back to the estate, their dishonest deeds of the past were about to catch up with them.